Welcome back, everybody, to this first day of Game Changers EMEA playoffs. SK Nebula manages to get the pick off of their opponents. Lotus falls in their favor. And Meg, I have to say, at the beginning, it looked like it was going to be a pretty even out match. But I echo what Ash said about it looking, you know, very in favor of SK. And especially, I know that there's a round that you wanted to take a look out to reflect all of this.
Yeah, I mean, things were really looking up for Heroic to start off, but I wanted to highlight particularly round 5, as I feel like this was where everything changed. It was a pure aim round from SK Nebula, Devil's Axer with the 2K and B-Link, and I think we'll take a look at the replay if we have it. If we don't, obviously we won't. But I feel like this was SK making a statement. They were building momentum from this point on, and they came in with just pure aim. Like, you know, this round completely changed just with those sheriffs in hand, and it really showed us how SK kind of win out these rounds, and it's just with those aim jewels 100%. And everything comes after that point.
Meg, I mean, you're the one that said it in the green room. We need to have a game changer sheriff, right? The amount of kills that these players are able to get with sheriffs is absolutely incredible. And I think, as you said, Meg, this round in particular, the pressure that SK were able to put onto Heroic, despite Heroic having a good start, they were able to just, as you say, build momentum off the back of it. And it's rounds like this, let's not forget, it was a thrifty to begin with. They invest that Viper ultimate into the round, and it helps them get back into the game, essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, they only dropped, I think it was 3 rounds against Heroic from this round on. So it definitely helped them create that momentum and win out the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that especially understanding what your winning conditions are, it doesn't matter what the weaponry is looking like, you have that ultimate, you have a clear plan, and that is sometimes the difference between winning and losing a round. We were talking about with the players about the pressure that might be on for today, because remember, everybody, this is a knockout round, and as it stands right now, Heroic is on the brink of getting out of the playoffs. And one of the players that is actually, we talked also about it during the pre-show, is Jolina. We were so excited to see how everything was going to come into play in her new team. And Billy, this was just a highlight reel for her.
Honestly, this whole map, you're correct in saying that, was a complete highlight reel for Jolina. It's been such a welcome change seeing her move from that controller onto the duelist role. And we wanted to see her Yoru, we got to see it. And I'm just so excited to see how she's been playing. It's just complete confidence and the wealth of experience that she has as well. And I mean, I want to see more Yoru, but we're going on to Haven next. And she's known to play Jet on the Haven. So I can't wait to get stuck into that.
Hey, it's been some time. Maybe we see some changes. Devilax as well, playing from the Viper, had some amazing rounds throughout that Lotus, and it comes back sometimes onto what we're saying. You know, the individual levels and actually being back to relay on this kind of prowess when the round is not looking your way. But looking ahead, let's focus ourselves on the next map, which is going to be Haven. Expectations, of course, there is a lot of pressure now onto Heroic, and I wanted to pick your brains, Meg. What do you think about this Haven? We have some information on the compositions. What does Heroic need to do to bring this back and take us to Pro?
Now listen, okay, I may have previously stated that I think this is going to be a 2-0 from SK, but that was until I double-checked Heroic's comp, and they do run that Fnatic comp on Haven. So I'm going to completely change my opinion here and say Heroic have to do nothing, because when you're running a winning comp like that, surely nothing can go wrong, right?
I love that the Fnatic bias is already coming in on the desk here in Game Changers, Meg. I respect it, I respect it. Look, both of these teams have a good win-loss ratio on this map. SK 5 wins, 2 losses, Heroic 3 wins, 1 loss. So if anything, maybe Heroic have some time to have VOD reviewed how SK perform. You know, they've got some coverage, they can ante some of the things. But yeah, as you say, Meg, it's just really coming down to the compositions and how different they are in this one.
Yeah, exactly. We're theorizing about the agents, of course, if anything is going to change, if we're going to see actually the changes that have been made to the agents being present when it comes to the gameplay. And I'm sure that we're going to have agent select pretty soon. But I know that you want to touch on this, Billy. So before we go into the agents, tell me about a couple of players that are on both sides and why they're important to you.
Listen, we have to talk about Jade and Fluxy. If today's date was not already in your calendar, mark it in the calendar, right? Okay, this is the first time in Game Changers history that we have ever seen two Scottish players, not only in the main event, but two players going up against one another in the main event. So to me, I'm just excited. Get the kilts on, guys. I think it's so nice to see that representation from us. We look at the experience that both of these players have been played in Game Changers for such a long time. And let's not forget, this is an elimination match. So one of these players will sadly be getting knocked out.
I have a quick request to make as well, because I would love to see a similar Scottish 1v1 between caster and analyst. I feel like we need to see Billy and Cairo go at it in the ring.
I knew you were going down.
I think that we can pitch that definitely for next time that we have like a tech post or something. We're just gonna call Kyrie, and I'm sure that he'd be down for it, right, Billy?
I'm sure he would be down. I mean, if he's up for getting absolutely stomped, then yeah.
Do you think?
Let's
Yeah,
run it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd win?
100%.
You have all our support.
100%.
Absolutely.
I would win.
Okay, so looking ahead, let's think about some saving graces from that first Lotus. Even though we're saying it was pretty dominant and it felt very dominant for the side of SK, do you think that maybe just right off of this composition, this comfortability, and maybe some aggression from the side of Heroic can be the difference, Billy?
I think that we've seen a lot of Heroic trying to kind of take initiative, and they were being very aggressive, right? They were trying to put Miori in perfect positions where she could actually capitalize off the fact that she's playing the chamber. We've seen her on that AWP a lot of the time, so I want to see them take more initiative like that with this composition that they're running. But as well, on SK's side, they were able to shut it down very quickly and very easily, and when we look at their composition, we are going to see Jade back onto that breach, we're going to see a Sova, so like the double initiator, they might be able to kind of catch her out. But in saying that, we talked about, you know, the ISO changes, and maybe that will come in Heroic's favor going into this Haven.
Yeah, I did also want to highlight Miori in the last sort of game. Although she may have not found the spacing on chamber that she wanted because SK was so kind of aware of those flanks and those lurks, I do think she could be a complete change in this map, in the sense of, with that op in hand, everything is different when Miori has that op. So I think as long as they can get her onto an op somehow, or finding that space and taking aggression, it should work in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Heroic, if I'm not mistaken, will be starting off from that attack inside. So we hope that this is going to give them, you know, that kind of edge, that kind of take the matters into your own hands. I think that especially when we moved on to that second half, there were some very crucial moments, some very thought out and well played rounds. Now, we've talked about it. We've mentioned her beginning just now. Jelena on the other side. She was good to take on to one. Is she going to be good enough to take on to two duelists this time around, Meg?
I don't know. I feel like Jelena always defies any expectation. You know, she's always going in with that aggression, no fear. So I feel like, you know, what's the difference between 1 and 2 duelists when you're up against someone like Jelena?
I love that you're saying that, Meg, but we have Lyda that's going to be going onto one of those duelists on the other side, right? She's the one that's jumping onto that ISO. We've seen her kind of jump onto the Reyna in the group stages, but the ISO is the agent that she is playing in Haven. Like I say, we have those changes on ISO now, so I'm excited to see it's on. We know that mechanically she is such a great player. It's whether or not that can, you know, get a little bit worrying when you're coming up against an aimer such as Jelena.
Yeah, also in the interview that I had previously today with Celia, she was speaking about maybe having some more changes. I mean, for this in particular, I wouldn't see them taking, let's say, that risk. But hey, I think that Lyda could do it. It would definitely be an ace up their sleeves. But again, this is all theories. We expect that also Haven being the map that it is, we're not going to be seeing any changes, Meg.
I am not shocked here. I think Haven, as we've kind of highlighted already, is a very comfortable map for both teams. So I don't think they have to do anything crazy on either side to come into this with full fighting force.
Yeah, I think looking at SK Nebula's sides, we know that they're dominant. We know that they've played well on this map with having that 5 wins and that 2 losses. So it's whether or not they can continue with that stride. You know, this is a team that I had said I probably would have them in my top 3 at this moment in time. But looking at the agents here, it's really nice to see them stick with that double initiator. You know, Jade being on that breach, but still being able to call from the front lines is always a really welcome change.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also looking forward to that head-to-head. We've been seeing it of Sealy versus Jade. Previously, they were teammates. Today, friends outside of the server, I'm just going to say, because only one team can remain. So if Heroic wants to be that team, they have to do it by starting off winning here on Haven. Mitch, Ash, did you guys have a bit to catch a break? Because we're going into game with you.
Well, I'm not sure how you feel about that one, Ash, but now we're moving into SK's map pick. We've just seen them have a dominant piece of control over the map that just happened. It's tough to imagine that there will be a massive bounce back, but hey, maybe you've got some sort of silver lining for us.
I think the one silver lining I'm going to look at is going to be the composition. I feel like you look towards how hot Jolina's been in the server since this iteration of her switching onto that duelist. She's an incredible jet player as well, but you've also got Lyda on that ISO, and with SK Nebula starting out on defense first, weaker side on Haven generally, strong still for SK Nebula when you look at their results, but there is going to be, you know, the expectation that Jolene is going to, again, look for some more of those forward picks, and I think it's going to be really on Lyda to be that person that she is going head-to-head against, having that ISO shield popped up and giving that second breath of life that opportunity to actually try and get that trade down on a Jolena who has been so good with these openers.
Well, it seems like there's still hope out there, and let's hope that Heroic feel the same as we move into map number 2. The first map, they went 3-1 up, ended the half 8-4, won the follow-up to the pistol. In the second half, finished 13-7. It's not a great sign for how those rifle rounds went, and it did feel like SK had them figured out. We'll see if they've got them figured out here on Haven. We're going to be jumping in to this map right now with 10 seconds left before those barriers go up. You look at the side of SK, you look at Jolena, Purity, 2 incredible players in that last map. Devilassa, who was destroying in terms of timing. And we'll see if those factors are still there for SK as we get into the game.
I mean, already you've got Devilassa, you know, backside, Cavalry's already here, flooding back in. You've got a great mid-side smoke to allow these positions to be had here by SK.
Yes, indeed. A couple of kills that go to Heroic's side, and now those others locked out of the site entirely. It seems like SK will have no choice but to throw themselves at this with the pistols they have. Taking down these players, though, well, that is where there's not much to do. 1-0 for Heroic, and a pistol under their belt. It's a good start. This is what we need to see. See if they can get the 3-1.
Pistol round is something that they were able to pick up at the beginning of Lotus there as well on the side of Heroic. They pick up the first one the first half, seemingly able to repeat these results here into this pistol round. But my eyes are going to be towards, you know, when those rifles do start to come out. It's going to be a strong anti-eco coming out here from Heroic Valkyries. And Miori consistently going to be the player onto the pistol in case they want to bolster into that buy in round 3.
Oh, I can catch a glimpse or two of what's happening now. I believe the people at home presumably will have seen this outlaw looking for some picks aggressively on A and finding one with Purity down. I didn't see who got that kill. My visuals are blurred slightly at times, but for the side of SK, the idea to push up on A, 4 players with low buy with pistols, it's a good one. Not one that's found them results, and Heroic have clearly sensed that danger and moved to the other side. Now, you're left inside of Garage with Devilassa looking one of 2 ways. There is a player right for the taking just around the corner. Miori, though, had that cam watching, knows now there's someone close, and goes hunting for them, finding them in the end.
Nice pick to be found there. I think that's something that we have to continuously keep our eye out on here with Miori. It's just going to be timings on those lurks, especially now being on that Cypher, having a little bit more freedom with that. I think more opportunities to try and worm her way through this map here as well. And it's a flawless round to be picked up here by Heroic. This is a great start for them, all things considered, because even though, you know, last map, they managed to pick up that second round as well. SK had previously made their ego close with those pistols.
Goes there.
Oh, that was very ominous. I think someone on Discord just said that goes there in Cypher's accent. People at home definitely can't hear that, but that was, I felt like I had an out-of-body experience there. Heroic 2-0 up as SK. Yes, they've got their rifles. They're up against a weaker buy. This is where we expect to see that same dominant team rise to the occasion as we did on that previous map. Someone's ult is ready, I can tell you that, and it was Yoru picking up the dimensional drift, early contestation over the C-long orb as they move back to the A site to now, or maybe to B, to use this as an information gathering ult, to use Yoru as a drone.
Here.
Bit of that information to be found here, and the Undercut's actually not going to be able to find any of that value.
Spike down A.
Right now, just firefights on site. So far, Heroic not able to find anything except for a little bit of chip damage. Got the re-clear coming out from Cabot as well. I feel like that's something that she's been very consistent with as far as using that drone on the Tejo on last map, or the Owl drone here now on Haven is just that mid-round information to assist with those reads here for SK.
Last player standing. Spike down A.
Well, the Sheriff doesn't seem to have a chance to close this one out. And he will be put to bed. Apologies, folks. We are working on some tech issues in the background, and hopefully they will be ironed out in the coming future, whenever that may be. But 2-1 from what I can see. Although everything is backwards.
30 seconds left.
Oh, it's fixed. Now I can see. All right, that is a 2 and it is a 1. Fantastic. For Heroic, look, the reality is they've got themselves a lot of rifles to work with here. The economy seems to be in a pretty position, and that previous round was one where they had lots of gaps to their investment. They move into this one and a much better chance to really have that flow of the round. Now for SK, and I think this might be the first round I get to see the entirety of, so I'm excited to get our teeth into some Valorant. You've got Jolina getting aggressive early on. Dash used to just get out of there. Of course, it was about to fade, and better use it for the safety. So early aggression denied in a way by Heroic. They were tucked in waiting for the second leg of that offense that never really came. So now you reset into late round, give up that control of A that isn't being fought for, because presumably SK are fighting somewhere else. Well, they see it's not B, and they've got a good idea on Garage where they're about to go through, and the drone sees it's C. Now all the information is there for Heroic. All that's left is to make that execute happen. And by the looks of things, actually I thought SK were going to give up the site and leave Devilassa on her own, but they've stuck around with that smoke, giving them a nice little angle of cover to fight around. If Heroic go through that, it's a big risk, but one that Adora relishes.
Something that they've been throwing out consistently there, that left side, that right side mid-site smoke. Just being able to give you that logs angle there as well. But Heroic is a great adjustment. Adora being able to pop through, follow up with those trades coming in. Now it's all up to Jolina in a 1v4. If anything, maybe a little bit of damage that she's looking to do this round, but more important thing will be to save this, and Yori's just going to fully cut that off. No opportunity, and Heroic. This is a good start from them. They're looking great, I think, on some of these macro calls that they're calling up against SK right now. A lot of that re-clearing, and again, I think that something that Yori's been praised for consistently is her lurking presence. And being able to be a little bit more flexible with that now. Again, on this Cypher pick, that ability to roam around the map, and the fact that she can play so aggressively as a Sentinel as well, which is a little bit different from some other play styles that you might anticipate that might be a little bit more slow paced, and something that Sile was applauding her for, and something that we got to know from her during last year's stage.
Round 5 kicking off with the same idea from Heroic to deny the aggression, but it is doubled up, quadrupled up on. Previously it was Jolina stepping down short and then giving it up after the dash was about to subside. This time it's 4 players getting aggressive and an early pick with Adora down, a big player in the previous round. Remember, Heroic were up 3-1 in the previous map, and SK at this point, they shifted gear. For Heroic, they have to hope that's not going to happen this time around. But Jolina with a Blade Storm and now a recovered rifle as well. This team is armed to the teeth. Heroic have been denied information, and now the push-up has been revealed with Fluxy doubling up. That is the pick, or the picks that they needed. Now the A site, it should just be a formality. We see Cabot quickly rotate in.
Oh.
Fluxy again will save the round.
Down into a 2v3. This is very doable, especially with Jade opening this one up. Valida to clean things up, and Fluxy to start things off with that 3K massive here for Heroic. And SK, they've been getting punished on these aggressive pushes. They look for some of that mid control, some of that lobby control to come through, and Heroic have been really good to take these very slow defaults at the beginning of the round, knowing that SK are going to go hunting for a bit of that information. And now a timeout to finally be called here for SK Nebula. A little bit of a rework needed to see if they can find some sort of trap here for Heroic Valkyries.
It's a much better flavor to it, though, for Heroic to be able to fight their way back in like that. They lost Adora early on. They faced a Blade Storm from Jolina, who's been there time and time again. And that aggression up through A main. I think Fluxy must have been a little flustered seeing 2 players that close. Not quite sure they were expecting it. But the reaction was perfect. Turning that moment from what could have been a disaster into a huge opportunity that was then capitalized on further by Fluxy's 3rd kill, dealing with Cabot, who had snuck onto the A site. Previously, like the entirety of Lotus, it felt like, outside of those first 4 rounds, if SK did something like that, early A aggression, it worked. And if it didn't, the 3rd player, I suppose, getting onto the A site early, getting ahead of the push, that worked to stop Heroic in their tracks. This time, though, hasn't been the case. It's not quite as easy of a solution, and that, at least, is yet again another thing giving us some confidence that, well, Heroic will be able, despite this being their opponent's map pick, despite this being one of the battlefields they lost on before, they'll be able to bounce back and bring us all the way to Pearl. And I guess as well, there is always a little extra fire lit under you when we come to those knockout rounds as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm glad that we are going to have this opportunity to see a little bit of a closer matchup so far, especially with this momentum that Heroic Valkyries are building for themselves. We are dealing with a little bit of tech pause here. Hopefully we'll have some answers for you guys at home shortly, but man, for SK, it's been hard for them to get started. It feels like, you know, they've had these ideas for these more aggressive pushes, trying to keep back sight on C, but I feel like what's really nice on the side of Heroic Valkyries is they haven't been needing to expend, it feels like, that much utility to get into some of these choke points off gate. They can save that for more of that backside control, consistently pushing forward a bit more together there as well. And I think that you look towards these ISO changes as well here, Mitch, and with that undercut, now having that ability to suppress, finding so much value in being able to deny that utility, especially if Devilassa is getting caught out with it. They know that where she is typically kind of positioned over on that C site and trying to deny the value out of her trips.
Well, that's it. Yeah, getting ahead of that utility in a lot of ways as well. You've got, when they do go for those C hits, you'll see Adora going for the gate crash into the back of the sites, playing those slightly more aggressive positions now. Right off rip here, we've gotten back into the game and the barriers have gone up. Heroic, they're looking again for this A main aggression. It's been there a couple of times from SK, I think 2 rounds in a row. So it makes sense that they plan their early round to deal with that. Cam still watching for push up on garage and mid, Trap holding C long. So much information here for the side of Heroic, and you think back to Lotus, there were some rounds where they did go all in on one part of the map early on, and they didn't have that extra those pieces of information across the map and kind of put them into a box they couldn't escape from. But this time around. They have got the fallback. Doesn't look like they'll be using it though, as all eyes are very much set on this A site itself. Good paranoia. Jade able to find one though nonetheless. Now you start to get worried. There's players here from SK. They're flooding back into the site with numbers, and Miori just about able to grab the spike and fade back through the smoke, but there is a firing squad coming to greet her. A Thrifty for the side of SK, and 4-2 we go.
Yeah, gorgeous pay safe card Thrifty coming out from the side of SK, and it came down to that trap play. Jademwa was able to, you know, be prepped and ready with that fault line, expecting that push coming in through long. Then the flashes in response as well, and having everyone stacking over, ensuring that they can play that fast flood, play off of each other, play that numbers advantage when they only had pistols in hand, and everything went right. Now it's about being able to repeat those kind of results here on a rifling round, something that has been falling flat here for the likes of SK. The drone to try and deny the angle from Jolina.
It's you and me.
Well, it's not quite worked, has it? No denial there, although the kill still comes in for the side of Heroic. Lida able to take the 1v1 inside the ult and put pressure back onto SK. The advantage no longer sitting with them. If they do swing back out with the operator, after that shield is gone, there's two players on long that could serve to be two targets, but now the pressure applied on the back. Miori able to find one, and Jolina, well, at any given moment, could be peeked from spawn. Has to have that in the back of her mind. Repositions as the reveals ping out the information. Heroic decide to move the other way. They are walking into Purity, knowing exactly where they are.
Oh,
Purity
what?
still finds one. Now looking into window, Jade. Okay, well, that's it. They didn't fully clear it. That's a perfect position for Fluxy. The call for the spike to move back towards this side of the map. It's being abandoned, and it's free.
So
Heroic. Beautiful read, but look at Jolina. She's faked the steps away, suspecting someone could be lurking. A beautiful read of the situation. And SK now in a 2 versus 3. Huge advantage.
Absolutely. Lida's just going to go for something a little bit more aggressive. I want to see both these players together, but they're going to go on their individual endeavors, try and bring these numbers down to equal. A crossfire to be set up here with Garage.
Last player standing.
It's not going to work out. Instead, SK to come out on top with those swings, but such a great read coming out from Jolina. I don't know if it was maybe a step that was heard a little bit earlier that gave away the ruse, or just the general awareness of where they had gaps in their defense. But great map control coming out here from SK to net them the round.
One enemy standing.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. That very much serves as one of those rounds where they have the read. And Heroic played perfectly into their hands in the 3v3. And I can't blame Fluxy for it. It was the right call to take the space to secure that rotation. So that when your teammates go and plant the spike, you can probably even find a pick for it. But at least you can guarantee no one has stepped back into the angle. The fact that Jolina just sits waiting, the patience is there. It speaks to the belief in her teammates on the other side of the map, but also just to her read that has been perfect almost every time. For Heroic, the lead is still theirs, 4-3. This round, they don't have a lot to work with in the position. Although perfect from Purity, the shield seems to have put a bit of a thorn in SK's side. Great damage done by Heroic already, and a real chance for this to get a whole lot better for the attack side.
Yeah, it's just a little bit greedy coming out from Devil Asset, trying to get that neural theft down, not having it quite work out. Cabot, but the jump spot is going to get hit in the body with that Marshall, so 101 to her. And now this 3v3 retake with the spike initiated towards C. You've got Jade with the near full kit available here to flood back into this site.
They've not used it yet. Waiting for long. They've so much utility now to fire in to this angle, and Jade's gone down. Great pick by Miori, and a lot of that util they could have helped is nowhere to be seen. Jolina's got to do it with just a rifle, and mistakes need to be made for this one to go the other way. They know that that's not being stuck. He swings in just to see. And the opportunity's not really given until the time is well and truly gone. That is a wonderful round from Heroic. One where, again, not only do they come in with big disadvantages, but the start to that round wasn't perfect either. Purity had a beautiful position, and it's only the shield that leaves Lida with a sliver of health, and then Lida ends up getting another that buys them the space to get the plant down.
A massive pay safe card, Thrifty, coming out from them. Like you had mentioned, that space that was able to be garnered. And Yori, I think, has been finding so much value on this attacking half here for Heroic Valkyries as well. Just being able to deny Jade that utility now as we head into this next one. It's scouting to come out from Adora, that dimensional drift to find the information.
Whoa, Jade!
What?
Nice stuff. That flick back up to the top of sewers, that's gonna occupy Heroic's mind for quite a while. A 3-piece to start it out for the side of SK, and 3 players still alive for them. This is a wonderful beginning with the Cypher utility covering every gap that's left behind. If Devil Asa goes down there, it's big trouble spelled out for SK, but instead, they'll keep that control late into the round.
Just that mid-presence alone, though, enough to pull Cabot away, trusting in the operator of Jolina, and she's going to have to fall back here to a reposition towards short. Do they expect it? Shot's not going to land.
Oh, Cabot slightly off in the timing. They've made it to the site, taken one more down and dealt with Jolina. Another big round from Fluxy and Heroic. They've managed to push it across the line as a result. Miori's triple kill is what heralds in the 6th round for Heroic. And look, we had our questions, we had our doubts, but, well, Heroic have certainly set the record straight as far as their ability here on Haven. In the first half, at least 6 already, a decent starting point.
It was such an insane start to that round as well. It was a great idea coming out from Heroic Valkyries. You've got that scouting out from Adora. Then they look for that crunch over towards short with the A lobby players. And Heroics to come out from Jade to try and take that back. But now aggression to come back through. Denying the knives with that aggression as well from Lida. The undercut. That value, all of a sudden the defense here on this eco round falling away from SK.
Perhaps Cabot can pull this back. No, again, Fluxy covering their back, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and now a clean push into that C site. It's only going to be the side angle from Garage to be worried about. Purity's done well, but Jade left alone. They don't know where she is, and the sneak out has at least found another good damage, but we're towards the end of the half now, and with 7 rounds on the board, Heroic have got a commanding lead.
Well, they do. And this is a great turnaround from map 1. The reminder that, again, it was that 13-7 upset. SK taking out Lotus. That was Heroic's map pick, and now they're looking to do it right back.
Oh, this is a nice
Creative Surefire to be thrown there. Coming out from Devil Asa.
Yes, this should do.
But this is, you know, you can see how badly Heroic wants this, right, Mitch? Again, we have to remind ourselves this is a knockout round. Even though there is a lower bracket, it doesn't count for this initial one here in playoffs.
It's you and me.
That's it. Oh, early on, the tournament life is on the line, and Jolina's playing like it. That's a 3-piece picked up. And for SK, trailing by 4 rounds, it's a godsend being able to have that little bit of fire towards the end of the half. They're heating up. And for SK, 5 still possible. All they have to do is deal with Fluxy here and find 1 round after that they come into with a lot of ultis. You'd love Jade to get that kill, just 2 away from the Rolling Thunder, but it's not to be. Perhaps they can play for an orb early. Perhaps Jade can pop off in some of those early fights. Either way, whether Rolling Thunder's there or not, ult economy looking good for the side of SK. They've got a Hunter's Fury coming into this round, and Jolina, well, she's out for blood.
Oh, she definitely is. Something, you know, we have to keep in mind here as well is you look at Haven, sure, map pick here for SK, but they are starting out on the weaker side, right? When you consider the grand scheme of things, you consider the way that this map is structured, It's very attacker side heavy due to how split up the defense is, and Heroic Valkyries also have a very attack heavy composition, but they've got plenty of tools to make those entries on towards site to deal with the utility that SK will be throwing towards them. Spin control slow here for Heroic Valkyries this time around. Again, it's a constant positioning for Purity to be a little bit more aggressive on one half of the map. Have that map control, that information for the team. Such a nice walk out there from Jade too.
That is huge in this round as well. One away from Rolling Thunder, a pick could give them a huge advantage to play around. And for Heroic, they're already down by 2. Where they take this spike, it's their choice. There's not going to be I guess, an easy suggestion. B site, you're retaken from both sides. You'll need a foothold to play from, and C or A are going to be as difficult to get into as ever. It looks like they'll try to wrap their way through Garage. Not a bad idea moving together.
30 seconds left.
ISO can still pop the shield and go for the run through. That's exactly what we're going to see happen. Reveal dodged. Paranoia not quite so much.
Ooh,
Jolina
nice.
still takes down Lida despite the shield being in play, and despite them not even looking at backside. They didn't know about that player. They didn't need to. Rolling Thunder online to close out the half, but the round is already done. 5-7. SK with a lease of life right at the end, but Heroic still dominating the scoreline. 7-5. They lead as we go into the second half after the break.
One enemy.
You're never gonna break me. All the years I've known in my heart, all the fears are falling apart. Gonna fight till the end of the road. Gonna make it on my own. Deep in my soul, my brave wild heart.
Welcome back, folks. 5-7 when we left you, and we haven't played around without you. Wasn't that nice of us? We're about to dive on in to this second half and see what SK can do on the attack for Heroic. Tournament life on the line, and they attempt to hold the line here and get all the way to Pearl. But this is SK's map pick, and on the attack, they seem to have all the pieces put together, at least when it came to Lotus. Let's see if it's going to be the same here, as barriers are soon to go up.
I'm really curious to see the approach that Heroic Valkyries are going to bring to this defense right now. It already seems like they're poised and ready for this mid hit coming out from SK. Very strong read coming out of the gate here from Heroic. You already can see Lida's ready for the dart she's expecting to come through. And even the possibility of throwing out that undercut into front sight if Adora needs it.
Pressure that's being applied gets a response out of Heroic. They see presence on A. They want to push up B, but Purity's there waiting. Miori finds one, and they know that Purity's here. A second player boxed in and a chance to equalize in this round. But then you start to think, has Purity moved? Have they TP'd and made it to a con and are now already on the site? Well, perhaps that will leave Purity with a small angle later on. The push up from Sile. I'm waiting for someone to spot it, and there it is. It's Jolina who ends up ticking that box. But with damage done to Jolina and the kills found on mid onto Purity, there's a real chance. Foxy again, the hero that Heroic need as 7 turns to 8.
That was just such great play coming out from Heroic. I like the idea from SK, go for that CT push and The Fluxy just comes out on top in that 1v2 duel as Miori is the backup that's needed if she does end up falling, which just isn't the case. So both pistol rounds to be picked up here by Heroic this time around. And for SK, since they managed to secure that spike plant, they're actually going to look to purchase up into this round, take a little bit of a risk for that to try and close the gap early on. My fear, though, is if it doesn't pan out, that means that you could be throwing around the third round of the second half away because you won't have those rifles. But I guess looking to contend instead.
Well, early fights are sending Adora running, and Fluxy's being revealed in the corner. If SK pick up the pace on this, the punish could most certainly be there. Jolina already making her way to the back side, or to the side itself, I suppose. It's actually Heroic who are going to go for the push. Moments later, the swing comes into them, and they are more than ready for the fight. Cabot with the double on the Sheriff, though, has recovered this. It looked like a little bit of a cleanup as soon as the mark was pushed off by Jolina. Instead, there's a chance that subsides in favor of Heroic. A nice attempt on the other side with SK putting credits on the line. The round won't be found.
The risk taken doesn't quite pan out there for SK. It was a great responsive flash coming out from Adora, just trying to slow down and temper that initial front sight take that SK were going for. Trying to buy it a little bit more time for that rotation to come through from the rest of the team here as well. Man, things got a little bit dicey. However, Heroic can feel very comfortable into their bonus round, knowing that they won't have rifles that they're contending up against. It should be a net of double digits here for Heroic into this one. We've seen some crazy thrifties coming out, so you never know what SK are going to be able to pull out.
It's a good sign with Jolina down and Devilassa following as well. Those are the two main players that have been there when things start to fall apart. Maybe Purity can be added to that list. And a phenomenal previous map, was good at playing with the pack. But in terms of just taking that control on one side or the other of the map, Devilassa's lurks have been phenomenal. And so for Heroic, they can breathe a sigh of relief. At least you'd assume so. Now in this 5v2.
Yeah. Nice paranoia setup just off the back of that trip breaking.
Shadows traveling, stealing sight.
Just trying to deny that push over towards the C site. Will come through regardless, but can still to be dealt with, and information to be found into the post plant. It's just damage that SK are looking to do.
Last player standing.
Very nicely dealt with. To the side of Heroic, they'll sit back, they'll wait, and take a patient approach to it. And I think after those early fights, you know, you win your duel on B, you shut down the lurk up through sewers. There is no need to fret. And then obviously your C long pick as well, with Jolina falling at the very start of the round. For SK, low buy, low success. Now, this is where we expect things to turn around. Weapons come into play. Ultimates are almost there for that attacking side. But Heroic, 10-5. Hey, look, they're coming close to the home stretch at this point. They win this round, they're pretty much there. And even then, this isn't one that they're investing everything into. In fact, they haven't, bar the one Vandal on Lida, everyone else is on a cheaper weapon.
That's the thing too, right? For SK, not only are we looking for them to make a bit of a comeback into this round, it has to be a clean round coming out from them with the position that their economy is in. And Adora's already found so much information over towards C long, pushed so far up, knowing now that the read is that SK is going to be dealing with this heavy presence that they're showing over towards A, maybe a potential mid lurk there. And it's going to be that mid re-clear that we're looking at from SK as well. And with this timing, you even see that gate crash being sent back by Adora, with them cutting noise towards that A site. She's expecting that maybe some presence will be shown. She can hear these steps being made over in mid as well.
Well, at this point as well, the garage control, it's being telegraphed, and I think SK know that. There's no way that you're assuming that Heroic or all these sounds, these shots and steps previously are falling on deaf ears. That's why they pump the brakes. Purity then starts to move up through short, perhaps trying to sell somewhat of a fake on that side, as if the garage was supposed to be loud, it was supposed to draw their attention, and then maybe they could fly under the radar. And Heroic keep 3 players in position, perhaps thinking that's exactly what's going on, while the real push comes in on the site. That's not a clean fight. Jolina fails it, but Miori falls in the end, and the space now bought for that spike to go down. Paranoia for backside, but the smoke out blocks them from following up on it. That's too much of a risk to go for. And Adora, there's information. That's so much. All of them have now been spotted. They must know they're clear to push into that site to claim that space, and it's the fight on the choke point that will really matter. With Adora lit low, the shock dart sent in to try to hunt them down. Another that's fired in is stopping the defuse for now. The pressure on as time ticks away, and Cabot finds 4. There's no way back. And with Purity cementing it, the round is theirs. 6-10, trailing by 4. And a nice idea from them here. They're starting to show that they've got that push and pull, just like back on Lotus.
Incredible firepower coming out from Cabot there. You saw her shock darts as well, delaying that spike defuse too. But also, at the same time, tragically expensive Heroic. They forced them to only have 1 gun carried over into this round. Now netting a couple of those light shields, a regen shield as well. Adora's got that operator online thanks to the money bank that had been saved up by Heroic with those 3 rounds in a row in the second half. Oh, this timing on the angle.
The drone goes up on long as well. Doesn't see anybody. The SK are going to use util surely before they peek, and indeed they do. It's the drone of their own, and now clears out sewers, gets all those close corners out of the back of their mind, and now the focus moves towards the site. But Adora's reposition hasn't been found. They don't know where that off made it to. The stun is good. She's lit down low and sent running out of the site. The retake, pretty much the only option.
And that's a great pause outside of A lobby, just starving Heroic Valkyries of that information.
They froze and they found their reward. Jade has picked up a kill with the aftershock, and now Heroic 1 player down, losing the reveal for their fight back, and an ult sent into the spawn from Jade. The timer really being run down. Even the shield that was in play for Lyda is now gone. Heroic, they've been stalled out, and the only choice, I said they didn't have much of a choice but a retake. I was wrong. The choice is a save.
Just opting to keep their credits a little bit more measured on the side of Heroic Valkyries. That's a massive round win coming out from SK here as well. Not a single player dropped, and at least bolstering their economy a little bit more. We're starting to cycle up into a couple of ultimates here. Heroic Valkyries, that's just 1 away from the Hunter's Fury there for Sile, and they're actually going to call a timeout here as well. They started off with nice momentum, 3 rounds in a row, and now SK Nebula, they finally stopped the bleeding, able to chain 2 rounds together. Just looking to see, okay, how do we want to deal with how SK are pausing in these early rounds? They're denying a bit of that info, showing that presence, forcing Heroic to do a little bit of re-clearing Sile's utility.
It is the right time to call that timeout. Just look at the timeline. 3 rounds to start this half out, and a resurgence from SK. The fact that the previous map was led, the pace, the fights, everything that went down was SK's decision. When they froze, Heroic pushed into the space that they left. When they re-executed, Heroic were right inside the trap that was set every time. Now, it hasn't felt the same. These are rounds that are won in, I think, more conventional manner. It gives me that idea that Heroic will be able to push through, but the problem is, if SK now recapture that previous image that they had, well, this may quickly flip-flop in the other direction. For Heroic, they saved in the previous round. Now they've got money invested into this one. Credits on the line. Operator in play. Stack up on A early, but Purity finding the frag onto Lyda. Advantage SK.
You got that Another smoke coming through. You've got a great aftershock to deal with Adora here as well, expecting the off angle with that operator. SK's utility is picture perfect here in round 18.
But Sile flew under the radar, tucked in a corner, and uncleared until the final moment. It's not even the advantage back, but it's something. Jolina
Flank.
firing in on the back of the Hunter's Fury. It's only Fluxy that's left on this side. Miori, though, causes problems in the back. Problems that Fluxy can't capitalize on. There was too many players, and they rooted her out. Now, it's left to just one, to Miori. 20-9 on the Cypher. A phenomenal performance so far, and it's getting a little bit better. There's 21 on the board. The 4K needed. But a high-low setup from two very high delivering players on the side of SK.
Oh, crossfire set up now as well. She's not going to bite, but this is still planted for Heaven. An easy angle for Jolina to deal with. One cage available, but still an opening.
Well, there's time. There's the real pressure here. It's ticking away halfway, though. Miori, it was a brave play to stick it there, expecting them to try to bait her off the spike, but in the end they had that second player, and that's the difference maker. 8-10 and a 2-round gap. No, it might have been a little more. I like that idea from Sile. I like the fact that Miori's able to get on the flank and find that so early, but again, just this overwhelming push from SK that claims the site. Now we look to the next and think, well, what do Heroic have to work with? And it's really not a pretty picture.
Behind me.
Well,
Over there.
playing this 4-1, you've got the trips to deal with mid, garner that information. You got the stack out from Heroic with a couple of these hero rifles on A. No one's gonna bite this time around. They see the deep smoke will go out from Heroic towards A lobby. They're happy to give that up. Do a little bit of soul searching on the other side of the map with the walk down coming out here from Miori towards Silong as well. Just narrowly missing, I think, the information on Devilassa, waiting for this lurk. She's so aware of it, not even give a chance. They're re-clearing together.
That's Miori dealt with, and again, you just look at how efficient SK are in so many of these scenarios. They're all on the same page, but hold on. Hunter's Fury, it's not finding anything by the looks of it. It has delayed the plant somewhat, but it's about the only thing we can report about it. And now, for Heroic, will they be able to take advantage with these few seconds extra that they've bought themselves? It looks like yes. Oh, it looked like yes. Jolina pops off, punishing that retake and leaving Fluxy to do it all yet again. Another 3-piece perhaps. Well, Fluxy hasn't batted an eyelid at it so far, but the swing is punished. Devilassa on the other side, climbing back our SK. Just 1 round in it now.
And that's off the back of a timeout coming out from Heroic all the way in round 18 now. Unable to stop that bleeding SK. Full control of this momentum so far. They're great fights. It seemed like Heroic were breaking back into this, but Jolina managing to find that 3K, equalizing those numbers as Heroic were trying to flood back into that site, was everything into this post plant to give her chance to the team.
Get out of my way.
Similar setup from what we saw last time. Yori going to be on an island here towards C. Unable to get out so far as well. Stuck backside.
Yeah, for now, though, hasn't been spotted. That cage is serving well. Oh, no. 2 players. When that cage faded, I think only one expected. No spike plant for now. You've been taken into this battle that Cabot will win. Jolina through the smoke gets nothing because it's Purity's round. Oh, no!
No!
Oh, delete it. Don't you dare show me a replay of that. If you put that in the replay, it's on site. That was awkward. And I guess, you know, target selection, there's so many players there. Oh, no. Well, that's another round for SK, and of all the moments for this to happen, for Purity to get that 2-piece, and then Adora, who's been so consistent so far, to have that moment. And again, or rather looking at the previous map, looking at Lotus, looking at some of the big plays they've had here, obviously scoreboard isn't maybe reflective of a phenomenal individual game, but it was Ray's last map, right? She was popping off on. It hasn't been connecting here. Now Heroic have to call this timeout at 10-10. This is heartbreaking stuff, Ash, considering how far ahead they were and also how quickly the dominoes crumbled in that round, right? Like Purity double spraying you down as the Jet knives are firing in. It's tragic.
Yeah, I mean, to give you guys a reminder of how this timeline looked, it started off with this 7-5 half in favor of Heroic Valkyries. Then they managed to find 3 rounds in a row, finding their bonus due to SK, you know, forcing up in that second round off the back of that plant, taking that risk. And that nets them 10-5. It's been 5 rounds that SK have been able to chain together here, pushing Heroic Valkyries onto this half buy. And a great opportunity, the best opportunity for SK to actually take the lead here on Haven, a map that Heroic needs to stay alive in this best of 3, in this knockout rounds here for stage 1.
Oh, it's a tooth and nail buy here. It's going to be a scrappy fight. I mean, even just look at how things have gone down. You got light shields on a couple players with pistols, stingers, judges, then a rifle on Lyda with no shields to work with. Of course, she has the choice of popping her own shield, going in for those duels. But it is this is one of the scrappier buys. Obviously, the idea being to keep credits for the next round where they'll be able to really fight for it. But it needs to be perfect from the next round on. Maybe there can even be a chance here. Shot not going to land for Adora, and Jolina is hitting everything, quickly overwhelming the A site. Still one down on short, though. Not for long.
Yeah, no. I mean, 2v5 for Lyda at the very least. Better to even save this Vandal over into the next round. She only has 450 credits that are carrying over into the next one. She will fall back, but that allows Fluxy to maybe go for some exits if possible. Try and get some value out of this Stinger, knowing that she will have enough after perishing to that spike, or even trying to keep a bit of SK around as that looks to detonate. And they're not going to let her have it whatsoever. Lyda's just got to run for the high hills, and you know, this advantage now into the hands of SK. It seems like they've firmly grasped tempo control here on Haven. The changes in pace, the quick pauses that they're taking mid-round as well to force Heroic Valkyrie's hand to show a little bit of their presence here and there. It's been really nice to see coming out from SK off that back of a timeout that we saw all the way in like round 6. It felt like that was when SK started to build that momentum back up.
Well, most certainly. Yeah, well, at this point, 6 rounds in a row, Heroic are going to be having a big discussion about when that momentum started to build back up and what they could have done to stop it. And I think from the side of SK, this is how it felt in the first map that they had full control. But this one, even at 10-7, we were in this position where, okay, SK have some light there at the end of the tunnel, but Heroic, they hadn't lost control completely. Up until now, though, and from that moment until now, it has felt like the shoe's on the other foot. Like all of a sudden SK have woken up, they've reclaimed control, they've got their pacing, and now for Heroic, this is the last line of defense. A full buy at the final hour, 10-11. They've lost the lead, but if they lose this round, they may just have lost their chances here in stage 1.
Oh, Paranoia is ready for contact here.
Enemy down.
Ready to find the first, and her ability to get out as well. Camera broken towards C long. That information is garnered that it is going to be this C garage split coming out from SK.
They've dealt with Miori. Traps her down. Fluxy, though, ever the hero for the side of Heroic. Another will be found, and the TP to backside as Purity fades on out. We went from one TP to another. That was interesting. Devilassa in the position that has been revealed because the rifle was seen. Sile just about saw the barrel. Now it's left to Purity. Now Purity has had some phenomenal rounds. 15 and 13 at the moment. A chance to increase those stats significantly, but it will not be landed as Lyda, well aware of that position being held. Heroic, I said they needed to hold strong here. This was the last line of defense, and they have indeed done that. They've taken it back to neck and neck. We're going to all of the rounds. Let's see if Heroic can bring us to all the maps.
There's a great little trap contact play there into Garage to even open up this round here for Heroic on the defense. And SK now to pull a timeout. We gotta remember, Heroic Valkyries have used all their timeouts today, right? Now SK pulling out their last one in this map here as well. It will give Heroic another chance to have a conversation of how they want to deal with how SK have been going for that initial smoke towards A long, starving them of that information, having that pause to cut noise and not reveal too much presence. That time we saw them use it to try and rotate, re-hit towards that C side. Doesn't pan out for them. Previously, they were consistently still breaking into A after taking those few seconds. And Heroic are starting to get an idea of it. Got those micro combinations coming in that are working out for them, but still toe-to-toe.
The question is this the resurgence at the final hour, or is it a flash in the pan? And SK, the final timeout, will be the ones to answer that. Have their opponents figured it out? Have they cracked the code?
Yes, this should
Or is this going to be just a glimmer at the very end? For SK, Rolling Thunder is online moving into this round. Credits are stacked high. They could pull out an attack side off if they wanted to, and the effects of it would not be significant moving into that next round, but they will not. Instead, and also the idea of giving the op over to your opposition might not be too tempting either to potentially close out the map. There's a lot to be considered for Heroic. There's a lot to consider as well, because they've just droned out A short, seen nobody spotted on C long. Garage seems clear, and the only thing they know is there's a smoke in Garage now, and they're hearing a drone right about this moment. It seems like all signals are pointing to a C hit, but the spike is still in spawn.
Just seeing what they can draw out from Heroic early on. You've got this prepped and ready. You can see the C setup ready for one of those garage splits. Expectations on the side of Heroic. You've got the ability for all three players on this A site to fall off if necessary, if that Rolling Thunder does come through from A long. Looks like that's the setup here so far from SK.
Oh, there it is. That's exactly what they hope to avoid with giving up all that space. The Rolling Thunder won't find any free kills. These players now look to retake quite quickly, being just waiting outside that doorway. And they're finding the picks too. Lida's done well with a double. This is putting a lot of pressure on the remaining players. Devilassa being the last and revealed, but already having found a kill. They knew exactly where she was. Spike down in the open, 12 seconds, both kills needed. The chances to find them not looking too good. Down to 7 seconds. This is it. This fight here determines it, and it's Mayori to win. 12-11. Heroic have trailed for a little bit. SK, they were 1-0 up in maps. They took the lead here at the final hour, and it looked like everything had just crumbled. But for Heroic, they can now push this to map 3. Just one more round.
It's a great fast flood. Nice protocoling coming out from Heroic Valkyries, knowing that that Rolling Thunder was going to come through, ensuring that nobody was going to get caught up in it.
This goes here.
Now,
This should do.
not as many tools available here for SK. First time we're seeing one of those heavy leans towards the C site early on into the round. 5 players to hit. Fluxy's just found so much value consistently.
Oh, Cabot's hit it onto Fluxy. Well, yeah, a big player dropped him with the follow-up. Well, with that being the follow-up to Mayori falling and no utility waiting for them on C. It's a free plant to be found. Back being watched and no doubt a clearance of Garage as they fall back. Heroic, map 3, looking less likely by the moment. Lida on her way in. That's a double tap from Jelena. That's insane. She's like, you have a shield. The whole point is you get a second shot, but I don't think she even got to shoot. Jelena's so quick. 12-12. It's OT locked in.
I just gotta know, like, was that smoke done purposefully? Give Jolena the upper angle, have that little peek through, maybe make the likes of Heroic think that, okay, it might be a little safe to get this peek, but just looking to actually funnel them into a close angle to be held there. Now into overtime for SK. This is their opportunity to try and close this out to 2-0. And again, Heroic trying to keep themselves even alive here in the playoffs bracket.
24-14 from Jolina. And on a Jet, you know, you expect some numbers to be put up. And certainly if you're listening to Billy on the analyst desk, you'd expect Jolina on a Jet to do that. But when you look at Miori, on a Cypher, and in a lot of retake scenarios, you know, the high-low setup, SK have baited, I mean, not baited them in, they didn't do anything, they just sat there and hoped that they came, they gambled, and, well, they have certainly found the result. Fluxy's been making some clutch plays, but let me tell you, that one was a bridge too far. I'm not sure about the just straight TPing in. Spike down on long, Miori, well, look, I said on retakes, she's been phenomenal. Great individual performance. Let's see what you've got. 1v5.
Gotta retake this spike. Same difference, right? But a tall order to ask here for Miori. There will be some opportunity to isolate maybe a 1v1 or so here, but even this high-low, watching this garage link from platform is going to make it impossible. Flawless rounds come out here for SK. They net themselves match point after earning overtime. And for Heroic Valkyries, they've got to be sweating.
Without a doubt. You know, we talk about it a lot that it sucks to lose series dominantly, but they are the ones that are quickest to leave your mind, right? You know the mistakes you made. You know that a 13-1 doesn't represent what you as players can put out in the server. And so you can move on and just work on the couple pointers that are worth taking away from that. You'll learn a lot from those losses. From a game like this, though, knockout round 13-7 on your map pick, move to your opponent's map pick, take the lead just before we hit even the conversation around OT, end up having to push to OT as a second place prize almost, and then SK pop off like that. 2 back-to-back firepower filled rounds. This is where things get very scary. And, you know, I'm almost surprised that it's SK that are the ones calling this pause going into the next. Taking a tactical timeout in overtime, you know, we'll see many teams do it. And I guess maybe an element of that being they did have those, like, 2 little hiccups at the end of their attack side. Maybe going back to the drawing board on what will Heroic's round look like and how they can counter that. But it is strange because I feel like the momentum's in their favor at the moment.
We've seen a couple of teams do this in the past, though. Just looking to take it while they're up, see if they can just guarantee the closeout instead of risking, you know, the potential of having to run that overtime back again. It'll be the same protocoling that we've seen, except the main difference maker, I think, being that Devil Asa is actually leaning a bit more heavily towards that C side, playing into spawn. You've got the trip, you've got the camera to watch mid there as well. Very different setup on A from what we've seen previously on the side of Heroic Valkyries. It's gonna be mid that Heroic are looking for. Adora doesn't see anyone, so the gate crash back to ensure she doesn't get caught out, and the re-clear to come out based off the information from the camera. The trip to be broken to put that additional pressure on B as well.
Adora's going for the spams. They haven't landed up top. Purity is still there, taking the free real estate, but everyone else has fallen. Purity now goes to, and Devil Asa, well, Miori couldn't make it happen. Let's see what Devil Asa can do. 1v5 and the first found, but that's where it ends. 13-13. Another OT's coming.
I feel like it's always a bold statement when you're trying to actually hit B when you're still in a 5v5. Usually you're looking to actually get at least one pick first due to how many avenues the defense has to look to retake this site. And they play it perfectly. They don't have to expend any utility into the early round. They saved a lot of it. And now this final timeout to be called here in this map on the side of Heroic, being able to bring it to another overtime situation for them.
A moment to gather themselves ahead of the chaos that will no doubt ensue for SK. Feels like a victory that's just being delayed. Heroic, they have them at their heels. But players like Fluxy in these moments, they've been delivering. We've seen Adora start to find a rhythm a little bit more here on the Yoru, but the switch up from Jolina, moving from a smoke player, and I guess it is exactly like Jade said, she's just a good player. You can put her on anything. But, you know, even on the Jet, delivering again and again, I feel like the Blade Storm hasn't, you know, we haven't seen that huge pop off. There's been the interesting thing for me is like whenever you see her going for these deep pushes, there's often someone like Purity there by her side. They're doing these dives together. They're pacing, that they use their freeze very well in the middle of the round. That's a little shock that's sent out to take down traps. It's ended up getting the Cypher as well. Not a bad start, and a lot of pressure being applied towards this C site. It looks like Heroic want to be quite direct indeed. Picking up the pace as a solution. Purity ready on longs, already found one. They look back right, but the rotates are already here. SK have them boxed in exactly, well, that's not ideal, exactly like you said. And now Miori is left to do it all. Another 1v5 that is required. 2 have already been found, and now alarm bells start to ring. That's why SK bring the cavalry and swing together. 14-13.
We're looking at these attacking rounds here, Mitch, and that seems to be where the piece of the puzzle lies, is who's able to win out that attacking round into this overtime, and the difference that that's able to make. We've seen some repeat situations from both ends of being down to one player in a 1v5, 1v4 situation. The defense has been clean from both. And now
that goes there. Oh, this is a nice
SK being able to shut that one down on the side of Heroic. It's going to be up to if they can close it out on the attack once again.
Cover going out.
A little bit of protocoling. Not going to find any trips here towards C-Long. A very different start. Again, it's been, I think, a lot of early presence, especially when it's towards that C site. They tend to take it at much faster tempo, but look at this walk up. Knife is out and ships in the night.
She snuck all the way through. Oh, but if she swings out a little wider, Adora's going to have that info. Letting her walk her way up. Oh, there was no gate crash already down. That's putting pressure that Adora delivers under. 4-piece picked up an SK. Well, it's another 1v5 clutch needed. I don't know how this keeps happening. Such clean early fights, decisive in favor of Heroic. That, and look, Cabot, couple of big rounds. I think it was a 4-piece in one of them here on Haven, and that's all that's needed from this point forward. This is a very big ask indeed, though.
Celia's giving her the one here in long.
Oh, that was hit very quick indeed. Now I am worried. The plant? Okay, sure. No, Lyda thinks it's going to be a fake. Plant is now secured. Cabot has Hunter's Fury as well. A couple kills, and this one might just be locked in. Heroic need to approach this one with caution. It should still be theirs. They've got utility. The blind is perfect. The drop is absolutely sublime, and they have done that with ease. But I did, for a moment, it got a little bit scary.
Oh, that was terrifying. That was terrifying. I think even the fact that Adora is able to get 4 in A lobby, just fully opening this round up for Heroic Valkyries, it really is coming down to these attacking rounds. Who can win out their attacking round first? It feels like that will be the difference maker. On SK, everyone a little bit too preoccupied watching that gate crash travel over towards short. It didn't get popped, so I don't know why we weren't clearing that close corner still. But questions to be asked a little bit later. You know, you get caught up in the action and things can slip away, but we can't afford to be making these mistakes here, especially if you're looking to close this one out. And so much on the line here in this elimination matchup.
Revealing area.
Side under threat, but Jolina is the one to find the opening. Jade swaps in positions as well. Jolina now extremely low for the late round fights. SK, they have control down on C-Long as well. Look at the cam that they've got positioned. That's a ton of information. Combined with the garage control, at least with the trap, you know, the problem is they can break that and very quickly breach into C. So you can't leave it alone. But the thing is, that's fine for Purity to be here because it's a good position to put out a Paranoia if they want that aggression back out into mid. Unfortunately, Jolina goes for it without any support, ends up being dropped with the low HP, and now the walk out of garage is the next best option. Only one to be found. The second player not expecting tempted, but still, the 1-for-1s are all they get. Heroic can take this where they want now.
Yeah, 2v2. Cabot's gonna have this clear towards A, so the read is that it should be the C hit with this information, her not being able to see or find anyone. And you've got
30
Jade still
seconds left.
maintaining some of this garage control towards window at the very least. We'll hear the tap come through. Still a flash, as well as the fault line to work with here for Jade. You've got a recon information for Cabot. She will be revealing her position anyways. Breaking the trip.
Standing ahead.
Oh, I like it. You know, it's all just
One
to
enemy
send those
remaining.
players to backside to be caught by the flash, and that's exactly what happened. Jade able to connect the kill onto Miori. Cabot finding one from long, and the split works out in SK's favor, 15-14. And now we move into our next leg of this OT with an advantage for SK again. The attack has been where the problems are,
One
so it's
enemy
by no
remaining.
means a certainty for victory. But Heroic, they'll start to feel that pressure mount once more, as they're not just fighting for another round, they're once again fighting for tournament life.
Very different setup on the side of Heroic from what we'd seen previously. I think the first time we're actually seeing Adora and Sile paired together towards the
Standing
same
ahead.
side. Aside from maybe 2 rounds ago when we had that aggressive push coming out from Adora, not going to be the case this time around. SK contest the space early on, something that they had been defaulting very heavily during their attack half.
We've seen this same approach. Okay, actually not quite so much. There's a bit more telegraph from SK this time. Heroic now know that the push is coming in. The question is, do they give up the site? No, there's 3 players waiting for the paranoia, and then once it comes in, they blitz forward, but they're caught. A couple of kills going back in Heroic's direction, though. Leave Jade all alone, running for the hills with the spike, being chased, but making it around the corner. It's usually a 1v5 that's required. This time, a 1v3. A little more doable, perhaps. But look at the Cypher util. They're going to have a very good idea where this push is coming in. Although I like the fact that we didn't see Miori run for the hills. They're going to approach this one as a 3, as a unit.
The thing is, you also have that Cypher Cam long was never dealt with because we had all 5 players outside of A. So they'll have the information that Jade is not playing towards C long, expecting maybe this garage push to be coming in from her. But if she gets this window timing right, it could make the difference.
Oh, the crouch peek from Fluxy is enough to bring it across the line for Heroic. And it's that fight on A side. It's the fact that 3 players wait on the back. They have the paranoia come through from Fluxy. That's huge. It stalls out the push. There would have been players emerging from a smoke and threatening that backside push or backside hold from 2 different angles. And instead, they are just left sitting there. And then obviously Adora popping off with a quick double and the crouch peek from Fluxy. It's the cherry on top to keep Heroic in it as we go into round 31. It's been nothing but defensive sided rounds, and a lot of it comes off of, you know, this time it was a team fight, but usually it's like 1 player finding 4 kills. See if that's going to be the case this time.
Time will tell. Now Heroic. Heroic the long smoke, and SK are going to look to contest that immediately, actually, with the deep smoke towards A lobby themselves. Purity to find the information, a quick pivot over towards C, and you can see Devil Asset just fully looking to fall back, has a retake camera that she'll be able to play with the rest of the squad here as well. Free sight for the taking for them at the very least. Looking to play 5v5 into this.
Yeah, this big push from SK up through A long. Look, they've already got Cabot inside the window. They've got Purity now catching them, walking back out of Garage. The plant will come through, and Heroic will have the site to hold on to, but SK, again, with that early fight, they've robbed them of some map control that then they look for with the deep push. Lida able to trade out onto Jade, but the position of Jolina hadn't been spotted. Only nets damage. Oh my goodness. There was no safe haven for Sile to play from there. Devilassa on for another as they flood back into the site from all angles. It is a free defuse in the end. SK 16. And another chance to close out this series before heading to Pearl.
Beautiful protocoling coming out from the side of SK. And great reads coming out from them too. They know that they had that flank pressure because of Purity being able to take down Fluxy in towards mid. And then the expectation of, okay, they might look to actually plant 4 back site here. We're putting a lot of pressure on them. They're going to have to go for a bit of an aggressive push so they don't get completely sandwiched in on site. But all the idea was there. It was just a great response here from SK instead. But can they close it out on attack? It's been these defensive round wins for each team, Mitch.
Yeah, it absolutely has. I think, you know, so far on this attack side, it has often come down to the fact that we have players pushed up into nasty little positions. Although thinking back, you know, the push up from Devil Asa when they were on their attack side, going through long, going through a cage and trying to sort of thread the needle, that was another sort of solution that they were trying to pull out on SK that in that round, I think it was Adora ended up finding a 4-piece from. And that's been the flavor of a lot of these when we go to OT, is the team tries a play, they maybe think they have space, and all of a sudden blindsided by a Miori, by an Adora, by take your pick at this point. I think an element of that for SK is that they do so well when they get to control the pace of these rounds. I think their push and pull towards the end of their attacking half, I think the first kind of quarter that we saw there was very scrappy. It was very conventional Valorant, but they seem to have a good amount of control when they move to that attack side. But here we're seeing the same from Heroic on Haven. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me that they were the ones that picked this map.
Hey, fair enough. I think that when you look at this map pool, is a really strong first 2 maps for both of these teams going through and through when you look at their history. But I think that one thing that I really want to see now that SK are back on the attacking side is I do like the protocoling that they have towards A lobby. I think the pressure is good. They're drawing a good utility out from Heroic Valkyrie, even though that those rounds haven't been netting them wins. However, I think that a key piece is having Devil Asa on the other side of the map. When they are grouped all together as 5, they're lacking on that information that's gonna help them with a couple more of those reads. They're not pressuring Miori's Cypher utility that is controlling so much of C-Long, allowing that stack to happen over towards A. So I want to see that Cypher util being dealt with. It's because I think that's their best chance at opening up these rounds and being able to make those mid-round reads for the pivot and to try and close this out in a 2-0.
Oh, it's been quite a battle so far. We've gone, as you can see down below, 16 to 15 in favor of SK, but all signs are pointing to this going to another OT. Someone's got to figure out the attack side eventually, and here in OT it's been a tough cookie to crack. And I think an element of that is, like we saw from Heroic, that little bit of extra defensive aggression that we've seen them go for, because they were giving up control at times that was being seized by SK. But here, an example being Adora pushing up through short, they've had that little bit of an extra flair to it. Now, I don't know if we'll see the same thing here. Gate Crash is sent over to the C site from Adora, and she's on short early, so a good chance that there will be a connection to... Oh no, indeed. An immediate Gate Crash, immediate move to that side, because look at the pressure from SK. So instead of the early information for Heroic pushing A to assume that it's C, they hear some utility and instantly rotate over there. But it's left them in this kind of awkward position now, Ash, in the late round, where they don't really know anything about where SK are challenging for map control.
Yeah, the drone does come out, so both drones should just be able to hear each other over towards A lobby. But it's still a bit more of a default look here with that heavy lean towards A coming out from SK. Just some mid-clearing protocols guaranteeing that no one has snuck into Cubby. Trying to get Devil Asa into a prime position for a late round lurk. After all is said and done, the regroup over towards the C side here as well. And with that C-Long camera dealt with early on, that was what I wanted to see. But now we're starting to run the clock down a bit.
30 seconds left.
Well, a bit turns to a lot. There's only 22 seconds left, 23 in fact, when the dash comes onto the C side, and it's open. It's wide open. In fact, there is a trap sitting on the site that I'm not sure that they're aware of. That spam almost got rid of the trap by taking Miori down, and Devilassa has walked up right behind them. We looked for the solution to the attack side rounds. We may have it here. A double for Devilassa. Spike down, and post plant occupied. Jolina not isolated. Why would I think that? Of course, she is the one to win that fight, leaving Sile all alone. 1 versus 3. The spike planted for long, players on it, but Jolina holds the site strong. 17 to 15. It is a marathon, not a sprint, but in the end, it's SK's victory to claim.
You were asking if it was going to be a bit of a closer matchup this time around, and yes, the scorelines were closer than the last time these two teams faced off, but a repeat victory here for SK to knock Heroic Valkyries out. I do want to give them the kudos though. Heroic, I think they had some great ideas going into the 2 maps that we got to see from them, but this was a great and strong finish from SK Nebula to net them the win here on Haven.
It absolutely was, and we got to see so many individuals pop off here in this battle for Heroic. No doubt hoping that or rather they'll look back and wish that that first map that they came into with the same flair they did here on their opponent's map pick, because this was a completely different game when we started out on the map of Haven. The first felt like SK had control pretty much the whole way through, and I think that speaks to the prep that they've done in the background. But when it came to this map, they certainly put up a fight. 17 to 15. It's been a while since I've gotten to see an OT quite that long. So yeah, it was a pleasure to be here for it, but in the end, just a pleasure to watch SK play. This looks like a very scary team, especially when so many of these players are firing on all cylinders. Looking at Jolina, of course, because look, anyone when they go for a role swap, you expect to play well, but I think it's especially easy to understand why someone who plays a duelist swapping to a controller or to an initiator or anything like that, why they can deliver, because they're a duelist. They've got good aim, they're good individual players, and they just have to learn to play differently. But when you're switching on to a duelist, there's a whole lot of expectation for you to pop the hell off, and I think we can say with certainty that's what Jolina did here today.
I think that's the crazy part, is that she was so good. I loved watching her on that Omen. She would go for really aggressive plays, you know, last season. But then you look now, the fact that she was one of the top players when she was on the controller. Now she is the top duelist within Game Changers EMEA throughout stage 1. When you look at the statistics, both on the Yoru and on that Jet, and that flexibility, that depth coming out from her has been beautiful to see.
It really has. What a game this was here. 17 to 15. It went the distance. It might be 2-0 in the series, but this map was a series of its own. Let's bring in our wonderful analyst desk and see what they thought of this Goliath matchup.
Thank you very much, guys. Great work today. Great work also for the side of SK. They managed to take this one on 2-0 fashion. But Meg, this last map wasn't as easy, especially as Mitch was saying. It was time for one of the teams to figure out their attack side.
Yeah, I have to say, quite unlucky for Heroic. It was really looking like a win for them. You know, it was kind of that 10-5 scoreline before we started to see SK Nebula really lock in and build up those rounds. I think the next round from then on that Heroic took was 11-11. So SK, they definitely pulled their boots up, and we were talking quite a bit about their utility as well to kind of get back into that and stop that defensive aggression coming through from Heroic Valkyries.
Absolutely. I think when we look at SK, the way that they're able to bring that back after being 10-5 down, as you say, Meg, and then we go to so many rounds of OT, they just keep coming up with new ideas and changing the pace of their game. It was really, really impressive to watch. And as soon as they start to kind of string those rounds together and get that momentum, you see the confidence come out from individual players. I know that we've harped on about Jolina all day today, but I want to shout out Purity as well. You know, she had some pop-off moments there, and Jade's calling really kind of just bringing it all together.
Yeah, especially when we saw those 2v2 situations, when the game was at its most tense moment. Definitely we could see the calling making a difference. Heroic also getting both pistols and actually even converting that bonus after the force from their opponents definitely made a difference. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but we wanted to take a look. Meg, you were speaking about this utility and the impact that it was having in the game.
Yeah, totally. I mean, a composition like the one that Heroic Valkyries were running, you're really relying on that early pick from Yoru, that A or C long aggression. And SK Nebula, I think, realized that this was working in Heroic Valkyries' favor and said, let's shut this down. And from then on, we saw a lot of utility being invested in whether it was A or C and getting Jolina that space to then take the site.
Yeah, I think you've completely painted the picture of that, Meg, right? They're recognizing what sort of composition they're playing against, that double duelist, right? And they're utilizing that utility to be able to clear that space, to be able to isolate those fights on A and C. In case Lyda on the ISO or in case Adora on the Yoru are taking those fights and playing aggressive. But I also do want to shout out Mayuri. I think that she was able to keep that C on lock, and it presented a lot of struggles for SK to be able to explode out onto that site. And yeah, I think individually she looked so much more comfortable on the Cypher moving onto that after playing Chamber on the first map.
It makes me a little bit sad that we didn't get to see that final map, because I fully believe that this game was a lot about learning and understanding understanding your strengths and actually how they're played on the map. And actually, this is exactly what we're seeing on these replays, all right? The utilizing that utility to the best of your ability. Also, shout out to Devilaxa, great in this clutches, also in the first map. But I like to see the learnings, as I'm saying, from both of the teams. It gives me this feeling of, even though Heroic hasn't won, it's not devastated, and obviously is way, way better than those two 13-1s lost on their side. But now we have an interview ready, if I'm hearing correctly, because we have been talking about her for the entire day, and I think it is only fair that we get Jolina with us so we can have some words from her. I don't know if we're ready or not.
Yeah,
hey,
hello.
Jolina, how are you feeling? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
First of all, congratulations on the win. It got a little bit complicated there at the end, but first, Jolina, I am so sad that you kept us from seeing this duelist, this performance that you're putting out now for such a long time. It brought me back to many years ago in Alliance Commons. So please tell me about you yourself going back into this duelist and how you're literally the best duelist in the region right now.
I mean, I always loved duelist as a role since the game came out, and so that's what I started out with, But then it ended up happening that I kind of to go further in the scene, I had to fill other roles to get into teams that I wanted and stuff like that. And so it just kind of happened that I switched to Smoker, which was fine. But now I saw this opportunity, and I was like, I know what I can do in Duelist, and I love it, and I will have a lot of fun. So that's what I decided to go for.
Yeah, Jay told me that it was your idea, that you wanted to come up with it, and honestly, thank you for that one. How is your new environment? How is everything in SK for you? I see that you're in a bootcamp. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
No, I mean, I absolutely love our bootcamp. My teammates were having so much fun. The bootcamp are really good. The vibes are really good. Even though we're in these stressful overtimes we just had, we're still able to laugh. We're still able to have fun, and that's how I think we can always come back in any game, because we never lose the mood or vibes.
Oh, I'm very happy to hear that, especially moving on to the rest of the playoffs. Now you will have that cushion in case you lose the next match and having that lower bracket. But let's not think about that. Let's actually think about today. Going and throwing back to, besides your amazing performance, when you first saw the Lotus and Mayuri going on the Chamber, did that affect the plan that you had for today or the game in general?
I mean, personally, it's I played with Mayuri when she was in Chamber, so I kind of felt like I could read in a little bit on her playstyle.
You know her well.
She plays. Yeah. So yeah, we were kind of also ready to adapt to anything. We were kind of waiting to see that their comp might be something we not expect. So I think we adapted well.
Oh yeah, you definitely did. And then we moved on to Haven. Those pistols not going on your favor. Let's just, roll back, go forward and actually think about when it gets to the overtime. It made me feel like you both of the teams were learning a lot about each other, and you were having some troubles actually closing it on the attack. What was going on there? How were the calls in the team?
Yeah, our defense very comfortable on the attack. I feel like we didn't get a good read on them. They had a very good rotations. We thought maybe they would not be on A, and then suddenly there's 4 on A getting together. They had really good fights flooding out on site. So honestly, we just kept keeping out like new ideas every attack, and like eventually, we got an idea that worked.
Okay, well, today is over, but tomorrow does not remain a mystery. You will be going up against KC. You've played against them already. Closer matchup on going on to that third map. What do you feel? What do you think about the team, and how do you think that match is going to go?
I mean, yeah, obviously they're a really good team. They had really good results in groups, but honestly, I'd say our group game against them was very close. Like, we didn't have our best day, and I feel like we're all very confident against going up against this team. Like, it's not, we're very confident.
Yeah, definitely. Keep up the vibes. Honestly, Jelena, I'm going to set you free to go and enjoy this victory, to go celebrate with the team, and obviously speak about tomorrow. Thank you very much for the interview. And again, we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, girls, don't we just love Jelena?
Absolutely.
Just putting that out there. Okay. Just putting that out there. But of course, that concludes our first series of the day. But one more team, unfortunately, has to go home. But we will touch up on all of that. We will break down this entire matchup coming up after this break.
Red Bull gives you wings.